The dust settled around Martha's boots as she stepped down from the stagecoach, her trunk landing with a heavy thud beside her. 3 months ago, she'd been teaching arithmetic to bankers' children in Philadelphia. Now she stood in the middle of nowhere, Texas, about to become Mrs. James Holloway, a man she'd known only through letters for 6 weeks. The marriage broker had warned her. He's got land, money even, runs cattle successfully. But there's something about him. The women in town, they won't have him. You'll be the 4th bride sent out, and the others took one look and got right back on that coach. Martha had laughed it off then. She was 32, plain-faced, and practical. She'd given up on romance years ago when her father lost everything to drink and her mother to influenza. An arrangement was exactly what she needed. Security, purpose, a place to belong. But now, watching a tall figure emerge from the general store across the dusty street, she felt her first flutter of uncertainty. James Holloway moved like a shadow, his wide-brimmed hat pulled low, a dark bandana covering the lower half of his face despite the sweltering heat. He wore gloves, a long-sleeved shirt buttoned to the collar, and kept his distance from everyone, even as he loaded supplies onto his wagon. An old woman spat in the dirt as he passed. A mother pulled her child closer. The sheriff watched him with narrowed eyes but made no move to approach. Martha straightened her spine. She hadn't come all this way to be a coward. "Mr. Holloway," she called out, her voice steady. He froze mid-step, then slowly turned. Even with most of his face covered, she could see his eyes, startlingly blue, filled with a mixture of hope and dread. He said nothing, just nodded once. "I'm Martha Brennan. Your bride, if you'll still have me." The entire street seemed to hold its breath. Someone whispered a warning she couldn't quite catch. James stood motionless for a long moment, then removed his hat in a gesture of respect she hadn't expected. "You sure, ma'am? The coach don't leave till morning." "You could." "I'm sure," she interrupted. "Shall we see the preacher?" The wedding was brief and witnessed only by the reluctant preacher and his stone-faced wife. James never removed his bandana or gloves, not even to place the ring on her finger. She had to slip it on herself. His voice, when he spoke his vows, was rough with disuse but not unkind. The ride to his ranch took 2 hours through increasingly beautiful country. James didn't speak, but he helped her onto the wagon seat with a gentleness that surprised her, careful not to let their hands touch. The ranch, when they finally arrived, was more impressive than she'd imagined. A sturdy house, well-maintained barns, healthy-looking cattle grazing in the distance. "It's lovely," she said honestly. He nodded, then showed her to her room, a spacious bedroom clearly prepared for her arrival, with fresh linens and wildflowers in a jar by the window. His room, he indicated with a gesture, was on the opposite end of the house. "I know this ain't a real marriage, ma'am," he said, his voice muffled behind the bandana. "You'll have your space. I just needed someone to help with the house. Maybe the books. I pay fair." "We'll see how things go," Martha replied neutrally. The first weeks passed in a strange but not unpleasant routine. James was up before dawn and often didn't return until dusk. He was meticulous about staying covered. She never saw him without his hat, bandana, gloves, and high collar, even in the brutal Texas heat. He ate his meals quickly, facing away from her, and retired to his room immediately after. But he was also considerate. He left firewood stacked by the stove each morning. He fixed the sticky door on her wardrobe without being asked. He brought her books from town, somehow knowing she loved to read. Once, she found a beautiful shawl laid across her chair. Soft blue wool, clearly expensive. "Your old one looked thin," he'd mumbled when she thanked him. Martha found herself growing curious rather than frightened. Whatever James was hiding, it didn't make him cruel or dangerous. He was lonely, she realized. Desperately, achingly lonely. She began leaving the lamp lit in the evenings, reading in the main room instead of retreating to her bedroom. At first, James would just nod goodnight and disappear. But gradually, he started lingering, standing awkwardly in the doorway, then sitting in the far chair, then occasionally commenting on her book. He was educated, she discovered. Well-read and thoughtful, with strong opinions on literature and politics. He'd traveled before settling here, had seen cities and museums. Talking with him, even with that bandana in place, became the best part of her day. One evening, about 2 months into their marriage, a storm rolled in fierce and sudden. Martha was making dinner when lightning struck close enough to rattle the windows. She jumped, dropping the pot she was holding. James was there in an instant, his gloved hand steadying her elbow. It was the first time he'd voluntarily touched her. "You all right?" His eyes searched her face with genuine concern. "Yes, just startled." She found herself not pulling away. "James, why do you stay so far from everyone?" "From me." He withdrew immediately, turning away. "You don't want to know." "I think I do. We're married, after all. You've been nothing but kind to me. Whatever you're hiding, it can't be as terrible as people make it out to be." "It's worse," he said quietly. "I'm worse." Martha made a decision. She walked around to face him, close enough to see the fine lines around his eyes, the way his shoulders hunched as if expecting a blow. "Show me, Martha. Show me, James. I'm your wife. For better or worse, remember." His hands shook as he slowly, reluctantly, reached up to pull down the bandana. In the lamplight, she saw his face clearly for the first time. The scars ran from his jaw up the left side of his face, twisting the skin into ridges and valleys of healed tissue. They continued down his neck, disappearing beneath his collar. Burns, she realized. Severe burns, long healed but permanently disfiguring. "There's more," he whispered, his ruined voice making more sense now. "My whole left side, down to my hip. A fire, when I was 18. I pulled my sister and mother from a burning barn. Saved them, but..." He gestured at himself. "I became this." Martha reached out slowly, giving him time to pull away. When he didn't, she gently touched the scarred skin of his cheek. He flinched but didn't retreat.